Hello, everybody. 67 of you online, as far as I can see, watching this first ever Ilkley Grammar School YouTube live event. I can see more and more people are joining us here. 400 years of a school being on site, and I'm the first one ever to do a YouTube live event. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name's Andy Calvert. I'm one of the assistant head teachers at Ilkley Grammar School. I'm responsible for Key Stage 3 and transition. Clearly, not quite the transition I had planned before the lockdown situation, but I hope that these events that I'm going to put on for you over the next few weeks will help to give you an opportunity to listen to me. I believe that the live chat is open, so you should be able to add any questions that you have into that chat. I have Mrs. Varley, Mr. Leeman and Mrs. Pennell in the background. They will be one of the 77 people so far that are watching this. So they will be monitoring the questions. If I don't get an opportunity to answer all the questions while I'm live online here, because obviously I'm trying to present and read at the same time, I will respond to all of the questions in time. And it may be today that I answer a lot of the questions that you may have already. So if you can just hold them, I will pause from time to time to see if anybody wants to post any questions onto the chat. Okay, so we're up to nearly 100 people online now, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you for joining us. What I propose to do is try in this session just to explain where we are, not only as a school, but also in the transition process, what we've done so far for the transition process, and the young people that are joining us as New Year 7 next year, and also the plans for September, as well as we see them at this time as I'm speaking to you. Okay, and I suppose to start with, I probably better start for the plans for September. We're led completely by the government in this situation, and as it stands, as I'm speaking to you now, there are no plans from the government about how a school may open in September. All I will say to you at this stage is, over the last week, we've had year 10 and 12 in on site, but only 25% of the year group at any one time, which obviously is as much significantly smaller number than we would have on site normally. There'd be nearly 2,000 people on site at Ilkley Grammar School when we're fully open. What that looks like in reality is that the classrooms are socially distanced by 2 meters each, and that means that you can only fit 9 students in any class with the teacher. So it's far from perfect for us. All I want to say at this stage is be absolutely reassured and assured that our new green tie cohort are absolutely the forefront of our mind. And as soon as we get any detail at all from the government and have any plans about what September looks like, then we will get those details to you. It's why I've spread these sessions out slightly. So the last one that is on the 29th of June that is scheduled so far, we may have a few more details then. Okay, so today's session, where we are, what have we done so far? The next session is on Tuesday at the same time, the 23rd of June, and that's about pastoral care, class charts, personal best. The one on Thursday, the 25th of June, is on safeguarding and preparing yourself for a secondary school. And the last one is on IGS learning, the iPad, and I've left space in that one for any other business. I do know that Mr. Leeman and Mrs. Varley have been fielding an awful lot of questions on the transition@ilkleygs.co.uk email account, and they will continue to do so. And please pass any questions through that way. as it stands, with the learning that happens in the school currently, is there's an awful lot of live lessons going on. We do use Microsoft Teams, and that blended learning approach where teachers are able to send work to students and get it back. And we're doing that for all our year groups currently, so years 7 to 12, not including year 11, because obviously they've left us now. The last exam season, so the last exam would have been happening shortly, and everything will be out of the way. Okay, so what have we done so far? Well, what we've tried to do is use the website, and as we're doing now, we're trying to use the YouTube account to get as much information to you as absolutely possible. We have done, we've sent out, I hope you've read, the New Beginnings document that has a lot of frequently asked questions in, and I've also sent out the consents booklet to you as well. And thank you to you all for returning that consents booklet. There's a few consents that we need to collect from you as parents to make sure that we can start the year group properly. There's just 1 or 2 things about permission to take photographs and use them for marketing purposes and such a thing. So thank you to you all. I believe everybody has completed that, but if you haven't completed it, please can you do that as a matter of urgency, please. What you should have seen as well, and I can see that I've not quite become a YouTube sensation yet, because my initial video has been left behind by many others that are on there as well. But on YouTube, we've got a number of staff, key staff, Mr. Leeming, Mrs. Varley and Mrs. Pennell have all done their own presentation that's on there as well. And I suppose more importantly than that, we've actually got a number of current year 7s who've put a huge amount of time in to produce small videos that are there to help the young people that are joining us and allay some of those fears. So please do use those. There's also a walkthrough done by Mr. Leeming as well. There's also walkthroughs done by Mr. Leeming also about how the school looks. Again, it looks like a very quiet place when he's done that, because he did it in the middle of lockdown. It's obviously much more busy than that. I don't know if you've seen recently, our head boy and girl have also done a welcome to the young people. And their student leadership group is intending to put together even more videos on there. What I would say, if there's something that you really want us to talk about on a video, please send it through to the transition@ilkleygrammar.co.uk website, and we'll be able to see what we can do to create those videos. 1 or 2 other things that are happening. There is a English project going on with the primary schools on a novel called Boy 87. I'm sure the young people, if they're with you there, will be able to explain that. It's being led by some of our partnership primary schools, but heavily involving us, and it's an opportunity for the children to all read a very similar novel and take those skills through when they join us in September. And our maths team are also working on a few interactive activities that we can send out to you just to keep things moving forward. I mean, I've written down on my notes here, we fully intend to keep adding and adding and adding to that over the time we've got left. So there is a big bank of resource that you can go to either through the website or YouTube, as we're doing today. And trying to give you as much information as you can in a climate that none of us have ever imagined that we would be able to perceive, really. I mean, it's unprecedented where we are. 1 or 2 other things that have happened. Mrs. Varley, Mr. Leeming, and a member of the SEN department have been down to all our partnership primary schools and spoken to the year 6 teachers. Where children come from primary schools that are not in our partnership primary schools, so a bit further afield, then we are contacting those primary schools and having the same conversations rather than doing it face to face, but we get the same detail through. What we're trying to do there is collect data to try and build what will be 12 tutor groups, to try and make sure that those tutor groups are well balanced by gender, by ability, SEN need, and so forth, and to try and build a consistent group across all 12 groups where we can I suppose, starting to form new teams. One thing I want to say about that, under normal circumstances, we would have released what tutor group your young person is in when we had the welcome morning and welcome evening, which is normally around the 8th of July. Clearly that day is not going to go ahead, so we've had to try and rethink how we're going to release what tutor group your students are in. And just what I want to say at this stage is it's not like a sorting hat exercise on Harry Potter. It's a really well planned and coordinated piece of software, actually, with the input from the primary schools and our knowledge of what works well for our school. And what we try and do is build tutor groups that allow students to form new friendships, really, as well as making sure, as Mrs. Purnell has already suggested, make sure that those relationships that have been formed at primary school that do work very well. This year, Mrs. Purnell has ensured that everybody will have at least one person in a tutor group that they know very well. There's a question there from Mrs. Bell, how many children in each tutor group? It will be 28s or 29s in each tutor group. So as you can imagine, there's not a lot of room for flexibility, but we will try and do what we can. There are a number of you, and thank you to those people who have given us some reasons about which, whether one of the languages in MFL, either French or Spanish, suit your family for particular reasons. And we've got all those in now, and we thread that into there as well. So thank you for those people that have got back to us with those suggestions. If you are, those reasons can be that you have a French or Spanish national at home. You have people in the family. You have a house in Spain or France or whatever. All those reasons can be valid. So again, thank you for those things. What we propose to do is, and we're still in consultation with the primary schools about this, but what we're intending to do is, once we've built the tutor groups, and we're doing that right now, we're going to actually go into the primary school, and we will be there when we release the primary school, release the tutor groups that individual people are in. We will also make sure that there's a letter, so you know as well. And we're in consultation with the primary schools to do that. It will be sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. It will certainly be before the summer. I know it's a very big thing for them. We know what it's like when we do it on our school site. But I want to reassure you and the students that we do it with a real amount of care and planning, and we will do everything we can to make that process as seamless as possible. So Mr. Leeming and Mrs. Varley will go down to the primary schools and work with the year 16 there and let them know what tutor group individual people are in. If you're not in one of the partnership primary schools, then we will make sure that we get a letter out to you with regards to which tutor group they're in. What has happened recently is that the primary schools, obviously, as you know, have started to open for year 6, and I do know some of you will be in there as well currently. And what the primary schools have been very kind enough to allow us to do is that Mr. Leeming and Mrs. Varley are actually going to the primary school to deliver what we call a roadshow PowerPoint. Again, it's a frequently asked questions PowerPoint, and I think it was Menston Primary that they did yesterday, and all other partnership primary schools are scheduled in. If you're not in one of those partnership primary schools, under normal circumstances, you would have been invited to those partnership primaries just to hear that, but all schools are not accepting visitors, so we can't do that. But there is a voiceover version of that PowerPoint that will go onto the website for you to listen to yourself, that you can hear what would have been said to you if you were there live. I know it's not an absolute substitute, but it is the best we can possibly do with regards to that. I've just got a question there from Mr. Davis. Will the students be able to visit the school before September? Mr. Davis, at this stage, there is no plans for all students to come on school site at this time. It's just simply not possible. So no, I'm sorry to say that, much as I would like them on site and to be doing all our usual transition activities that are so useful, there is no plan at this stage to get all students on site before September. What I would say is there are key students with various needs that we are getting on an individual basis with their parents, but that's a very, very small number. So, Mr. Davis, I'm very sorry to say that, but there is no plan at this stage to get them on site before September. And to be honest, I wish I could, because we're leaving, you know, that the induction process, I suppose, for the young people until we actually open. So no, that's not possible. This is one of the reasons why we're trying to do as much as we can online. No substitute for the real thing, but we're trying to do everything we can. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Yeah, and an absolute shame, as you say there, Mr. Davies. I really do, like you do. I wish it was different. Okay. I'm just going to pause there for a second, just before I move on to anything else, because I have spoken for 20 minutes there. So are there any questions that are about this part of the process, where we are, what we're trying to do? Any questions about how we're working with the primary schools? Is there anything that you want to ask now? Just please pop them up onto the chat there, and I'll do my best to answer them while I take it is water. A glass of water. Please put those questions through on the chat there, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'll just wait a few seconds to let people type them in. Mrs. Cousins, as I said, at this stage, we're not even aware of when we can open. I mean, you are saying in September there. There's nothing planned for the end of the summer in any way. I would really like to do that, but there's nothing planned at this stage. We're still trying to work on working with the students that are with us currently. I mean, to be honest, if there was an opportunity, I would do it, but there's nothing there at the minute. Were you visiting Sacred Heart? Mr. Lehman, would you mind answering that one for me, if you don't mind, just off your list? Mr. Amy, yeah, good question about the iPad scheme. I've spoken to the iPad team today. And like everything seems to be held up at the minute, there's been a delay in us trying to get things sorted. So the ETA is imminent. So the portal should be open, and we'll get that through to you as soon as we possibly can. We are a little bit behind. I appreciate that, but we would get it. We would get it through as soon as we can. Mrs. Greenwood, year 7 take priority over years 8 and 9 for a September return. I can't answer that. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously that are our youngest students, and clearly our biggest priority will be to get year 7 in as fast as we possibly can. That said, obviously year 8 and 9 have also had no face-to-face teaching whatsoever. Sorry, they've only had online teaching, nothing face-to-face with their teachers. So we would have to balance that as best we possibly can. Once that sort of planning will go in, once we know when the government allows us to start thinking about opening schools. I feel like I'm being very evasive on this, but I genuinely, it's been such a fast-moving situation that we've not been able to. You know, the government seems to change its plans daily, really, and we will do everything we can to get everybody in. I mean, it's in our interest as well as yours to get the students in as fast as possible. Mr. Davies, just pop that request onto the transition at ilkleygs.co.uk and we'll have a look at it. Mrs. Bell, the first few weeks will look different. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's in everyone's interest to get the students into lessons, but we're going to have to put a transition process in place. Yeah, I think that's sensible that we will do that. Mrs. Townsend, Asquith, we're trying to contact. I do know that. With regards to the information about the recommended reading books, we will sort all that for you. Mrs. Shepherd, there about your daughter's primary school. If you can just buzz that through, Mrs. Shepherd, so you can onto the transition email account, and then we can have a look at it on an individual basis, if that's okay. Jetpack Joe, what band they'll be in. Once we release the tutor groups, you will know what band they're in as well, and that will be on the letter. Baildon C of E won't be involved in the presentations, but we will make sure that that's available as a voiceover for you. So, and again, if there's any questions, give us a ring. God, these coming in fast. Mr. Davis, I think Ashlands are involved in the English project, so I'll chase that up with them. I've answered the question about bands. Okay. Someone's asked, Mrs. Minor, you've asked the question, how many are in a class? It's 28 or 29. We've got the Year 7 tutors have been allocated over the last couple of days. When we do go down to the primary schools to release the tutor group, what we're hoping is that all of the tutors, I mean, obviously some of them are newly qualified teachers or teachers from other schools that are joining us. That tends to be the way it is, but we're hoping that they will be able to do a short video clip so the students themselves can at least see the person that's going to be their tutor, hopefully for the next 5 years. Okay, so that'll be part of the plan. Okay. Mrs. Wilkinson, good question about the impact of SATs not occurring. When we do the tutor groups under normal circumstances, what we do is we actually just hold the information, which is why we have the normal welcome morning so late. It's actually after the SATs results come in, so we can just cross-check the impact of the SATs levels to make sure that they kind of match what the Year 16 teachers are telling us. But we have to rely absolutely this year on the teacher assessments. And, you know, I mean, the primary school teachers are incredibly professional people, and will have done everything they can to assess people as best we possibly can. Just so you know how the system works in school, it's actually only for maths that the students are setting in Year 7. So there's a big opportunity in English and all of the other subjects to assess them. It's only maths that they are setting in Year 7. So it's really that grade that we will have to use the teacher assessed grade there to set them. But I've already spoken to Mrs. Pennell, who's online with us here, and Mr. Breen, who's the head of maths, and said obviously because we're relying on teacher assessed grades rather than teacher assessed grades plus the SATs, he's already prepped himself that we need in the first few weeks to make sure that we're assessing the students on their maths ability and either moving people up or down as we need to. Okay. Just last call for questions, anybody, and then I'll move on. There's 168 people online at peak there, which I'm absolutely delighted about. So thank you very much for joining us. It's really great. Okay. I shall move on, because one of the things I did want to just share with you at this stage is, and I would have done in the presentation when you first joined us, is what makes Ilkley Grammar School such an amazing place. And I suppose it comes from, first of all, just some, an incredibly passionate staff, driven, really want to get the very best outcomes and educational process that they can possibly get for all the young people that join us. We are a comprehensive school. We're incredibly lucky that many of our children join us from super primary schools, so they're already moving along really nicely when they get to us. But underpinning all of that is the school's vision and values, really, and that's to make sure that the students become those kind of exceptional citizens and really rounded individuals, and you will see that as you come into the school, that all over the school, you will see that the vision and values statements are there. And in year 7 and in all year groups, there are what called tie values. And in year 7, it is to be what we say to be a super learner. And it's to really build on what the students are bringing to us from primary school. And I just want to pause there to thank the young people, because one of the things I've seen already online is the amazing videos and photographs and work that the children are doing, that they're sending through to us, and we will do a montage of that and share it with you, because it's absolutely incredible, and I can see that the young people are really trying to, you know, be bursting almost to join us. So in year 7, the tie values, and they're not written along the tie as such, but the tie values are inquisitive, involved, motivated, organized, resilient, and responsible. And when Mr. Leeman and Mrs. Varley go down to the primary schools, we will be testing the young people on how they're going to show those values. How are they going to be inquisitive? How are they going to get themselves involved in anything that they may, you know, we sort of say to them, get yourself involved in things that you've never tried, a club that you may have never tried, a team that you may never tried, a sport, a debating club. Do things that you've never done or had the opportunity to do at primary school. Being motivated and driving that motivation is, you know, is incredibly important at Ilkley, and we try and strive that they can be the very best they can be. I'll come on to that in a second. Being organised, and obviously it is a big change, as we can all remember, I'm sure, when we did move from primary school to high school. Being organised and going from, first of all, being the biggest to being the smallest, but more importantly, getting yourself around a fairly, you know, tricky site with regards to lots of different buildings and so on, getting to know all of the teachers, remembering your books for the day. And we, again, when we go down to the primary schools and talk them through that, how can they mitigate those issues and get used to using their iPad for the planning, getting the bag packed from the night before, telling mum and dad that they've got cooking the next day, so you're not running around for lamb mince at 10 o'clock at night for the cooking the next day. My son does that as well. So yeah, it's important that the organisation is probably one of the most important ones, and it's often the one that the students pick out thinking, yes, I've really got to work on that. Being resilient, and when you see the PowerPoint after we've delivered it on the roadshow, there's a picture of the little boy with his fist in his hand, sort of saying, you know, we're ready for this, we've got to get on with it. And because they have outgrown primary school. I know you might not think that as parents, but they have outgrown primary school, and it is their time to join us in high school. And then lastly, being responsible. And again, we work on huge, the tutors really work hard on making sure that the students take responsibility for their own actions as such. What underpins all of that is what's called personal best. And again, you'll hear us talking about personal best and personal best of trying to do the very best you can do in everything that you do. Those subjects that you find very hard, still do your very best in them. Being that rounded citizen and helping each other out, learning and creating new friendships. One of the things I do say to the young people is, and I don't think they always believe me, but I think in time they do. I say to them, you've had friends at primary school, but what I do say to them is that their best friend that they will keep for the rest of their life is in the room with them now. And what I always say to them is, when we start on the first day of term, they might not know who that person is yet. And I share my experience of that, you know, my best friend, my only best friend really, that I met him on the first day of high school. We just happened to be sat next to each other and 30 years, well, 30 and more years later, we're still very best friends. In fact, I'm playing golf with him on Sunday. So that's one of the issues that we really try hard to get the students to think about, is that how the tutor groups are formed, they're not always formed on what they feel is their very best friend at this stage, but as a combination of that, and try and really move them around to get them to know lots of people. I mean, there are 315 children joining us in September, which is an enormous year group. Not the biggest, but because the one above is even bigger. But it is an enormous year group, and in my key stage in year 7, 8, and 9, there's nearly 1,000 children, and obviously that swamps any of the sides of any of the primary schools that they're in currently. So getting them used to meeting new people, learning with new people, forging new friendships is absolutely the way we want to go, which is why when the tutor groups do come out, I want them to think about, and what I do say to them is to think about, there are a number of children that they're the only person joining us from a certain primary school. And what I do say to them is think about that person, particularly if you come from one of the bigger primary schools where you may be sending 80 children to us. Actually think about that person that really is on their own. How are you going to get to know them? They've not got the opportunity to choose a friend, so they really do need to be able to be brought into the tutor group and help to make friends. And our tutors are incredibly good at doing that. What we do to support it is we have what's called personal best time on a Wednesday morning, which is tutor time effectively, but a really well planned sequence of events that allows the children to practice team building, moving around the classroom, getting to know people. And we do that on the normal first day of term anyway, which would usually be just year 7 in with us. And again, once we know that, we'll let you know the details, but normally we do that sort of team building. They tell us things about them and so on, and we can use that to almost like a speed dating idea, where you can go and tell someone about yourself and what you're interested in, and very quickly those friendships do form and coalesce. And I often ask the young people. In fact, I was talking to some year 7s today, and I asked 2 of them, and I said, if I'm going online today to talk to the parents of them, what would you say? And they said, I'll tell them not to worry. I was really worried about who I was in a tutor group with. But so quickly you just almost forget where you were at primary school, and you become part of the Ilkley Grammar School team. Okay. And the last thing I've got to say, really, I think, and I think this is a really important point, is, we do deliver a very high quality educational experience for young people. And I say this openly. If my son was in the catchment area, I would have no qualms whatsoever of sending my child to Ilkley Grammar School. And I don't think you can have any higher accolade for staff to say that. There's a number of staff who have their own children in the school as well. And I think that really is a very high accolade for a school, really, that people that work there want their children to go there as well. I mean, unfortunately, I'm out of the catchment area, but I would send my son to Ilkley Grammar School, and I've been at Ilkley Grammar School for a long time. This is my 19th year, 20th next year when you guys join, and it's always an amazing place to be. And just to finish off before I go to the floor for questions, really, I think that going back to that, it's about the entire community. It's incredibly well led by an experienced and passionate and driven leadership team, but all of the staff behind that are absolutely with us. And most importantly, the young people that are on site with us, some of the most amazing young people I've ever seen. And I think you're seeing some of those on the little snips of videos that you see on the YouTube website. Those children have purposely got themselves in uniform so they can deliver these those little video tips, because they're passionate about their school and they want people to join it and see what it's like. Okay, so listen, I've done nearly 40 minutes there. and I'm quite happy now. And I think I've covered everything that I said I would in this session. So where we are, what have we done so far? And unfortunately, I don't have any additional details for you about the plans for September. But just going back to that point, as soon as we do, I will get them your way, because it's really important to us as well. So I'll just turn it over to you if you would like, and I'm quite happy to stay online for another, well, for as long as it takes, I suppose. But if there are questions that people want to ask, I'll do my best to answer them. As I said, just to remind you, there will be a session next time on pastoral care, class charts, personal best. So I will answer quite a lot of questions around that next time. Then I am the safeguarding lead of school as well. So I will do a session on safeguarding and preparing for secondary school, e-safety and so on. And then the last session is on IGS learning the curriculum, and then there's opportunity for any other business as well. So, please feel free to start sending questions my way. Mrs. Townsend, students meeting classmates online, perhaps a quiz or similar. Yeah, very, very good idea. We'll take that one away. I certainly like the idea of that. Likes the idea. And Mr. and Mrs. Dow there, will the students meet their classmates with the tutor group online? I suppose it goes the same, but I like the idea of that. We just have to work out a way of doing that, because every school and every family has a different way of going online, whether it be Zoom or Teams or using Instagram, YouTube, as we're doing today. Okay, but yeah, that's an excellent idea. I'm sure Mr. Lehman and Mrs. Varley and I will take that away and see what we can do, because it's an excellent idea. Mrs. Slade, can the students get involved in the English project if they're not in a partnership primary school? Yes, they can, Mrs. Slade. What we've done is we've actually got the books for them, and we'll get them out to you, Mrs. Slade. We were talking about that today. We just need to work out how to get them out to you. But yes, Mrs. Slade, everybody will be involved, and that's been an agreement with all the partnership primary schools and ourselves. So all 315 children will get the book. Yeah. Any other questions, anybody? We're up to 173 people online, which is amazing. I'm so glad it's worked so well. Just one of the reasons I did this on YouTube was because this is recording, and I will be able to post it onto the YouTube channel as a video. It won't be interactive, but it will be there, and if anyone has missed it, they'll be able to watch it. I don't know why anyone would want to watch me for 40 minutes, but they may decide to do that. Yeah, thanks, Mrs. Varley. The books aren't with us yet, but they'll be here for us as soon as we can. Okay, Mrs. Bell, thank you. Mr. Babb, thank you as well. I mean, I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just answering the questions that are coming through. If you want to listen to those, please stay online. If not, feel free to head off, and I will come back online on Tuesday the 23rd at 6 o'clock, and I'll talk to you about pastoral care, class charts, and the PB system. Question there: do the students get a chance to be a specific friend from their primary school as in previous years? Yes, Mrs. Wales-Smith, that will happen. Yeah, Mrs. Penella's committed to that this year. iPad scheme, Mr. Granson, as I said, the most up-to-date message I've got is the portal will be going live as soon as possible. It is delayed. It's delayed for various reasons. I believe it was the insurance company. It was a slight hold-up thing. Everything is working on a go slow at the minute, so we are slightly behind, Mr. Granderson. But the iPads won't come out until we're back in school anyway. So there is still plenty of time to get that the portal open, get people signed up, make sure the iPads are ordered and set up ready for when the students start with us. I will talk about the iPads and how that will look in the Monday the 29th session, because I'll probably have more details then. Mr. McHugh, sorry, good question. I did miss that. There is it's called All About Me questionnaire, which we will put out when Mr. Lehman and Mrs. Varley go to the primary schools to do the road show. We will send out details of the All About Me survey, because that's really useful information for the tutors to have, knowing what they're interested in and what they're worried about and so on. So yes, it will go out there. Okay, please keep them coming. I'm happy to answer as many as I can. Mr. Pickering, that's a very good question. There's no after school clubs going on at all at the minute. So if we're not open in September, there won't be any after school clubs, is my thought on that at the minute. Clearly, if we are open and we can start doing things like that, we will want to get those sorted. Mrs. Kitchen, yeah, I can put that into, I can possibly put in about uniform into the next session, if that will be helpful, because it's around pastoral care and class charts. I'll pop that on my notes here now, and I will talk about uniform. As you state, it is in the New Beginnings booklet, and our uniform suppliers will be able to tell you what you need. You obviously, the only thing that is kind of, you need to know which band they're in with regards to the epaulets on the PE thing, sorry, in the PE shirt. So that would be the thing that you would need to know. But the uniform suppliers are really clear on what uniform people need. There obviously are options, but I will talk about that next time. Okay. Mr. Davis, in the New Beginnings booklet that's on the website, all details about equipment are on there. As I say, the sports tops colours depends on the band, which depends on the tutor group. So I will, once you have that, you'll have time to get the correct PE shirt. Mrs. Bell, is it entirely up to families whether their children take the bus if available or train, again if available? Mrs. Bell, yes, it's entirely up to you. I will talk about buses next time, as that's part of the pastoral care issue, but just very quickly, you go to apply for a travel pass for a school bus, you go onto the Metro website and there's a form to fill in, but yes, you're responsible for that, to book them onto the correct bus if available, and they will be if we open up. And the train, there's no pass as such on the train. It's just a kind of pay as you go. Mrs. Green, very good question. I think we do try and do that where we can, but it can't be an overriding thing. Just so you can, I understand why, because you can recycle the older PE shirt. I understand why you're saying that. I think we do look at that. I can't guarantee it, but it's certainly something that we take into to account. Although I did say it wasn't like the sorting hat. We do try and keep students where we can in a similar band to their siblings, just to try and give that sense of community spirit, shall we say. Lucy 556, there's a copy of the brochure on the school website, if you want to go on there, or if you want to send us an email, we'll email a PDF copy across to you. Send it onto the transition@igs.co.uk website and we'll send it across to you. Okay, seems you're running out of questions, or so. Listen, I suppose I just want to say I've never done anything like that in my life before, and I do hope it's been useful to you all. I really do. And like I say, we'll do 3 more of these, and hopefully I can get things across. Mr. Griffiths, they've actually already been to Menston. They came yesterday, and they will be coming back to see the other half of the year 6. Yes, they will. Yeah, because obviously the primary schools only have a half a cohort in at least. So we're going back as much as we can to make sure we do as much coverage as we can. Okay, thank you all. I will stay online until 7 o'clock, and then, but yeah, I hope to see you all again on the 23rd. We'll do it again. That's great, Mrs. Bell. I'm glad you enjoyed seeing them at Menston. We're really grateful to the primary schools that we can get in. Listen, I do hope to see you all face to face at some point as well. It's lovely to see so many thanks coming through, and we are trying to do everything we can to cover as much ground as we can. And I hopefully over 4 sessions I'll be able to tell you everything I would have done. And yeah, see you all on the 23rd. But thank you for your feedback; it's really useful. If there are things you would like us to talk about, just pop them in the chat bar there. I will tailor the next. I will tailor the next sessions to meet your needs. This is really great that we're getting so many thank yous. It's obviously works. So thank you, Mr. Thompson. That's really nice of you. I've even put a shirt and tie on for you all. You have to guess yourself whether I've got shorts on or do you offer individual music lessons? Not personally, Mrs. Slade, but if you have a look at as most people will tell you, I'm the most uncreative person in the whole school, I would think. But we do offer individual music lessons. If you have a look in the New Beginnings booklet, there is a section on notability, which are our peripatetic service. If you send us through if you send us through an email, we'll send you on the form to book it in. Mrs. Val is responding to you there, the same thing. The numbers of people are slowly going down, so I must have worn everybody out by now. Thank you, Mrs. Evans. Thank you, Mrs. Norris. I'm just going to take a photograph of myself doing this, and I can post it online as well, so bear with me a second. All of this is new to us as well, to try and make sure that we can make this transition process as positive as we can do. Mrs. Slade, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mrs. Bridgen. Thank you all. Yes, Mr. Kitchen, notability is the peripatetic service that we use. It is a third party as such. You book the music lessons through them, and the students come out of various lessons to go and do their peripatetic lesson, then head back to lesson. It's the music department in the school is incredibly strong. If you've got individual questions about that, then we can put you onto the head of music, who I'm sure can answer all your questions if it's something that you're interested in. With regards to, there are obviously there's an orchestra as well, and we have a samba band, one or two other things as well. So people that are interested in music and the creative arts, you know, we've an incredibly strong department. So I'm hope we'll certainly to find the what you need. I'm glad you found it all really helpful, Mrs. Harper. That's great. As long as it's useful, we don't mind doing it at all. We've just got the last 5 minutes, so if anybody wants to ask any last questions, or I'll end the stream, and I'll pick all of this up on the 23rd. Any last questions for anyone? We've got a few minutes left. There's nothing more coming through, so I'll end the stream in a few minutes' time. But thanks for joining us. I'll see you all hopefully on the 23rd for the next round. Looks like all of the questions have dried up. So thank you very much, everybody. Those that are still there. Thanks to Mr. Leeming, Mrs. Varley, and I know Mrs. Purnell's in the background as well. So I'm glad it went well. Yeah, it is a hard, but you know, we've got to do what we've got to do. The young people that are joining us are an absolute priority certainly for us in the transition team. So, and for the rest of the school, really. So, you know, we'll do whatever it takes to make sure it's as smooth as possible. Okay, I'm going to end the stream now. I will see you all on the 23rd. Okay, 6 o'clock. As I say, just follow the link on the last email, and then you'll come straight into this the live session on the 23rd. Okay, thank you all. I actually quite enjoyed that. So speak to you all on the 23rd. Goodbye.